Hi there, my name is Issack Vaid, and today I wanted to talk to you about inheritance. What is inheritance? Allow me to ask you a question. You hear someone say he has his father's eyes or she has her father's look. Now, is that some sort of big belief, or is there something truly there on a biological level? Did we just grow up believing that, yes, we look like our parents, and so therefore we inherited our physical traits from them? Or is there something truly to it? Now, what if my whole life I grew up believing that I am the son of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? Now, if I sort of did a smolder, I think you could see the resemblance. Huh? Perhaps not. Now, there is something there when it comes to inheritance, and there's a lot to it. But first, before we go into it, let me introduce you to someone very, very famous, someone very well known in the realm of inheritance and genetics. That goes by the name of Gregor Mendel. Now, Gregor Mendel is a scientist. He is the founder of genetics. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have the fundamental laws of genetics and what we know about it today. Now, knowing that, he and his studies have brought us closer to what we know today. Now, alleles. Alleles are... An allele is a variant form of a given gene, meaning it is one of two or more versions of a known mutation at the same place on a chromosome. A better way to get to know this is an allele is a pair that's part of, when paired together, it becomes what we call a genotype. A genotype is, by definition, the genetic constitution of an individual organism. Now, a genotype, in essence, is the genetic code, the makeup of our physical traits, should you say. Now, along with the genotype, we have what's known as a phenotype. Now, a phenotype, by definition, is the set of observable characteristics of an individual resulting from the interaction of its genotype with the environment. Let's make that a little more clear. A phenotype is what you see. You see me, I have dark brown eyes. Now, you most likely have dark brown eyes, or perhaps hazel or blue or any other color of the spectrum. Now, what I see there is your phenotype. It's clear and given. However, the genetic code behind that phenotype, what we call the genotype, could be different, or it could be the same. It could tell us you were 100% most likely to have this phenotype, or you were, let's say, 25% likely to have that phenotype, and we don't know. And the way we can observe that is through what's called a Punnett square. A Punnett square is a square diagram that is composed of a grid of usually 4 boxes and is used to calculate and depict all the combinations of frequencies of the different genotypes and phenotypes among the offspring of a cross in accordance with Mendelian inheritance. Now, what is Mendelian inheritance? That is the inheritance of characters specifically transmitted by genes in accord with Mendel's law. We learned about Mendel, Gregor Mendel, who was the well-known scientist known as the father of genetics. That's all confusing. No, it's not. Don't worry about it. Let's create a square diagram now. Just create on a piece of paper a square diagram. Now you have your parents. You will have your parents' genotype, and you will have your their alleles, and you'll have your mother's genotype listed. Now let's just say, for the sake of ease, we'll say that your father's genotype was dominant in having dark brown eyes, and so was your mother's. Your mother's genotype was also dominant in having dark brown eyes. So as you can see, when you fill in those squares, that each square is a representation of 25%. Well, when you connect the dots of your father and your mother in each square, you can see they're all the same, and that's an indicator of you were 100% likely to have dark brown eyes because of their dominant genotype. Now, this obviously can be affected in many different ways. Let's say your father had, dark brown eyes, and let's say your mother had light blue eyes, and they were both dominant. There was no hidden recessive trait there. Well, if that were the case, you can see here that it would be 50% and 50%. 50% likely to have brown eyes, and also 50% likely to have blue eyes. That said, that sort of gives us the whole gist. And, definitely play around with the Punnett square. Now, of course, you would need your genetic code, the genetic makeup from your parents to really understand what your physical traits were meant to be. However, if you don't have it, which that requires genetic tests and all, but if you don't have that, you could still play around with it on a phenotype basis, and you can see that, hey, my mother has this eye color or this hair color, whichever trait you want to focus on, and sort of build that on a Punnett square and see what was your likelihood of possibly having, let's say, blonde hair versus dark brown hair or black hair. But there you go. That's your breakdown of inheritance. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, all genotype is beautiful. So definitely feel proud of yourself there. And thanks for watching.